for the Great Barrington Planning Board meeting for Thursday, March 12th. This meeting is being recorded. Is anyone else recording?
May record portion.
May record. Okay, thank you.
Berkshire Edge is also.
Berkshire Edge is also recording online. Okay, great. Thank you. Excellent. We just called the meeting to order and we're just about to do attendance. So we'll start down there with Jackie Kane,
I'm here.
Jeremy Ega,
Here.
Pedro Pachano, Jonathan Hinken,
Still breathing?
Brandy Nelson here. Okay, we are all here. We have no Form As tonight, is that correct?
Correct.
No Form As. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of our meeting of February 26th. Do we have do you have questions, Jonathan?
Well, it didn't cover a lot, but I wasn't at in all the groups, so if that's the best we can do, then.
I think we understood at the outset of the meeting that with the breakout tables, that the recap at the end was essentially what we were gonna get in terms of.
Written. Is that overkill?
Did that get attached?
Send it to Chris.
It was for my purpose.
Okay, so that's getting added to the OSRP notes for preparation of the document.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay, but
Okay.
it's not in the minutes, so, okay, move to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay. So we've got a motion to approve by Jonathan, second by Pedro. Any further discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Jeremy's abstaining? Okay, that's fine. All right, the next item on our agenda is the special permit public hearing for 53 Van Duzenville Road, ground-mounted solar facility, and we received a letter requesting that hearing be continued to April 9th at 6 p.m. at Town Hall. So we have that motion. I received a question about whether or not there are, oh, do we have a motion? Then we'll discuss.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Well, now we want to discuss. So, I received a question from a member of the public about there being several things that night, and is the 9th the right night to have that public hearing, being that there are both select board and is it finance committee?
So procedurally, all you can do tonight is vote to continue to the 9th. Because that's all we know is when the applicant will be here.
Okay,
Now, as we approach the 9th, maybe I can have conversations with the applicant to change the date.
yeah,
But that is the next scheduled date, and I think that's the action you need to take tonight. Maybe between now and then, there's some other date that can be arrived at, and on the 9th, we can.
What's happening on the 9th?
There are a bunch of other meetings have been scheduled because the budget is
Oh, okay.
slow in coming, so it's like a quadruple header night.
So
But
we're gonna be-
planning board was first.
Brooke, we're gonna be in the firehouse?
Yeah.
So we'll be here.
is town hall, that's still the right
Planning board
location?
will be here.
Planning board will be here.
So I received 2 letters with
That same
concern.
comment, okay.
But I think procedurally we need to do it now
Okay.
and then.
And then
hopefully,
continue it further if need be.
If possible.
Okay,
May I see
sure,
before you vote?
yeah,
You vote? Do you vote on this one?
We're
Yes.
only voting on extending.
Right,
Yeah.
I just didn't want to misspeak and, Michelle Bear, 70 Division Street. One of the letters was from me, and just to underscore it, I'm not an immediate butter of the proposed
Yeah.
project, but I'm also on the finance committee and I'm involved with other people regarding the solar project. And I was one of the people that submitted a letter.
yeah,
I just want to point out that the applicant has postponed this numerous times.
Yeah.
And at some of the times at great inconvenience of myself and other people to be here. And as residents of the Van Duzenville neighborhood, it would be greatly appreciated if something can be done about that April 9th date. I have a duty to the taxpayers of the town of Great Barrington by serving on the finance committee. But I also have a responsibilities to the people who will be before you
Mhm.
for that public hearing. So
okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yep.
it.
all right, so we have a motion and a second to extend the date as is advertised on our agenda, so,
So moved?
it's been moved and seconded, so if there's no further discussion, we can take a vote on it. Unless we can move it 3 times if you want. No. Okay, so all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So we have voted to move that, and whether it holds on that date remains to be seen. All right, next item on our agenda is the special permit public hearing for 34 Division Street, which is an application for a special permit from Brian and Marcy Bucciello. Buccellato, thank you, to erect a 6-foot tall solid fence in their front yard in an R2 zone at 34 Division Street per section 4.29 and 10.4 of the zoning bylaw. Our first item is to vote on opening the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jonathan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Pedro. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is now open. Our next item is a presentation from the applicant. If you'd like to come up. You're welcome to come up here or stand there if you'd like.
Yeah, so I would like to erect a 6-foot solid fence along the front of my property, 10 feet back from the road. The reason being, I play with my small children in the yard, and a 6-year-old, so I would like to, feel a little more secure without the cars whizzing back and forth while we're playing like that. So, yeah, that's mostly a safety concern. The fence would be angled in to the driveway, so there shouldn't be any visibility issues. I think that's it.
Okay. So questions from the board's next item. So Jackie.
Is it just along the front, not along the sides?
Correct.
Anything for you, Jeremy? Pedro, anything for you?
I was just curious, you already have a lot of vegetation in there. Did you
Yeah.
ever consider just adding more?
Yes, I mean, I plan to probably get that filled in, but like I said, I have a 2 and a 6-year-old, so by the time that's filled in, they'll be in their teens, so I wanna kind of get on top of it now.
Is there a reason that a 2 and a 6-year-old can't be contained with a 4-foot fence?
I mean, probably not. They're, one of them is a toddler and he loves to climb. But also it's just kind of like, you're still going to be like, because it's right there, right? Like it wouldn't visually block it. It wouldn't, block any of the sound. It still feels very present in your yard.
I had the same question as Jonathan, because there are other property owners on that street that do have the 4-foot fence. And so I was just curious why you didn't think a 4-foot fence would potentially work. There's lots of houses here in the area, all, on busy roads all over that have that smaller fence rather than the tall fence. So your application also mentioned the noise, and so I was trying to understand, is it a safety issue or is it you're trying to block the noise?
I don't expect it to block like much of the noise, but I think if you can't see it, it kind of helps you like perceive it as being less there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's like a comfort thing where I want to feel less like there's cars, kind of in my yard, driving right by. And then I guess the other part is safety.
Do you know where your property line is? Because you say 10 feet back from the road, but is there a right of way in through there? Do you working with the plot plan or
survey? And I've measured it on the survey.
Okay. So it won't be in the town's road right of way at all. It'll be back from that. Okay. Any other questions, board members?
Well, I would just like to talk about the reason this is in here.
Yep.
This is about building community. And fencing, when every property is fenced with a tall fence, then it detracts from the feeling of the community and the sense of community and
Right.
The ability of neighbors to communicate with each other and everything.
Right.
And so that's why this is in here.
Got it. Okay. That's kind of where I was starting with this, but then I wasn't exactly sure, just that it had to align with the Great Barrington Master Plan, which is Yeah, I mean, for that reason, like. I would love to feel like my house is part of a community, like,
It's a pretty house.
yeah, it's beautiful. And, you know, Michelle was saying that people used, you know, kids used to play on that street and like go to each other's houses. And I love it when people walk by or ride their bikes. Like, I love that feel. But that's a small part of what it feels like to live on that road. And what it feels like to live on that road is dangerous. Like, I love to walk to Taft Farm with my kids, but I don't feel safe doing it. You know, like I'll do it because I love being outside and I love being part of the community. And like, yes, ideally I could like live in town and get more of that feel, but you know, the reality is that it's just basically a highway, you know? I mean, cars go 50 miles an hour or faster. So it doesn't feel neighborly, you know, like that's not how I feel when I'm in my front yard.
It feels very neighborly when you drive down the street.
I see, right, from that perspective, sure.
And it will feel less neighborly if there's one house on the block that has 6-foot fence.
Well, I disagree with that because like I have seen a lot of houses like this, right? And I think some of them are really beautiful. Like I think fences can be pretty. I think, you know, if you have like plants in front and you have like trees coming out the top, like it can look really like historic and beautiful. I don't think it has to look closed off, you know, even though it's technically closed off. I don't think it has to feel like that.
And I was thinking across the street from you, there really isn't a house, is there?
There is.
But the guardrail, the guardrail is, it's kind of, that's all.
Oh, the house is lower.
Yeah, and there's just this feeling of, well, you'd have a fence there and a guardrail, and then almost as, I've driven by it several times because I'm on Division all the time, and my first reaction was, I don't want to see a barrier. I don't want to see a wall that separates you from the community that you're talking about. Then I looked at that barrier across the street, and that's already something that's preventing people from walking from one place to another. So,
For the kids,
I mean, so it's
ending
just,
up in there, in their yard.
well, exactly, but still, it's a barrier, and I'm thinking, all right, I was arguing myself into the safety of the children and the safety of guys walking that street. We don't have sidewalks, so
No.
that's some issue.
Yeah, they, I don't know if you guys were part of this, but they made the, line wider. And that was really awesome, cause we used to have about this amount of space to like walk where there's the right line to the road. So now it's like this big. So I'm like really grateful for that. I feel like I can push the stroller and like, you know, be a little careful, but, that was a big help, you know, but it's still not a sidewalk now.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, like, what the feeling's like, because my only experience with that street, besides driving, is riding a bike on it, and it does not feel like a little downtown, like walking through a neighborhood. It feels like
It's a
you're
country road.
It's a
it feels like you're going,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and the houses are, a lot of them are pretty far back from the road anyway, and they're all pretty spread apart. And I mean, I understand the 4-foot high fence because then you really get to see the house but I mean, I really understand like that feeling of safety thing, and it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of walking traffic on that.
There is at great risk to
Yeah,
anyone.
I mean, that's what.
I really admire the
I
people
grew
that
up,
walk
I
up and
grew
down
up
the road.
in the city when they allow public comment.
I mean, I think it would be a big difference if there was a big sidewalk, you know, along Division Street, but.
So I want to ask Kim or Jonathan, do either of you recall whether a special permit was issued for the house up the street across from the Guthrie Center? There's a house that has a similar, that was pre-existing? Okay, so there is precedent on the street.
Pre-existing than what?
This law only came into effect in Susie was on the board.
So like 15 years ago?
That,
10,
No.
10 maybe.
Not a lot of 6 foot fences, but like there's
Yeah.
one right, there, a couple right on Taconic. that
Yep.
Are so offensive.
Oh, yeah. That's it. Yeah,
Those-
this particular provision's only been in place for about 10.
Yeah, I think I think that is different though contextually. I think it's different.
Why?
Density.
What does density have to do with that?
Well, to your point about neighborhood, it's in a neighborhood where you've got a house that's like walled itself off
Yeah.
on Taconic Street, but I don't think that that's the same case on Division Street. It's more of a suburban feel. Anyway, I won't get into that with you. Okay, do we have any more questions? Because
Well, I'll ask whether this is relevant or not, but I was riding around looking at 6 foot high walls, and there was one on 41. But there's space in between the slats, and somehow it wasn't wrapped around the house, so it didn't feel that enclosed, but I felt like it was more open, that there were space between the slats. So it didn't feel like you're erecting a wall to prevent people from getting on your property or stay away from me. It felt like I could understand it vis-a-vis of children. I mean, it was a visual impression.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. That would do no sound dampening.
That was the other part of the
Or
concern.
like as much visual blockage. Um,
But I applaud your notions of planting.
oh, yes, like that's my favorite part about it. I wish our trees could just be all filled in and lush and, feel like like it's enough to block out the cars, and I was hoping for that, and we have waited a few years, but, forever.
any more board questions?
Well, I would just like to point out that a 6 foot fence is considered a structure, which is why it's controlled here. A 4 foot fence is not a structure. And so you could put that on your property line. You don't have to put it on you don't have to worry about a setback. You could put it right on the front property line, make your front yard bigger. You still have the trees there.
I think in this instance, she's requesting that it be on the property line, that it be 6 feet
No.
tall, and that it
10
be,
feet back.
no, she said from the road,
Oh, right, right.
and 50% and 100% solid. So I think we're considering all 3 aspects.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
Not at this moment.
Okay. All right, so then we will open it up to comments and questions from the public. Go ahead. Yeah, please. Yeah, the other owl's right there, so it'll pick you up. Yeah.
Michelle LeBear, 70 Division Street. I live down the road. My applicant. I strongly recommend that I'm in support of the fence, that you approve it. And the reason being is I grew up on Division Street. And when I had 7 brothers and sisters, almost every family on the street. I think the smallest family had 4 children. And we were up and down that street on our bicycles all the time. I actually grew up in that house. And look at it now. And I'm a cyclist. I used to be a runner before I broke my back. It is dangerous to go up and down Division Street. I've been after the police department, the town of Great Barrington, to monitor the speed on Division Street. It's not helping. And as a matter of fact, 3 weeks ago, after one of our snowstorms, I had just pulled in my driveway and I heard a large pickup truck roaring up the street. I heard a bang. It came up over the bank, nearly missing the telephone poles, and landed at the foot of my driveway. And that was 5 minutes after I pulled in. If I had pulled in later, I would have been killed. This was a mess. If you think there's not a risk on Division Street to her children, you're absolutely wrong. And as one of her neighbors, a 6 foot fence means nothing to me. If I'm her neighbor, she needs help, she knows where to find me, vice versa. I walk by, I could say hello to her. This is critical, and you have other families with children on the street, and the traffic speed's getting worse and worse and worse. And I can't, part of me, I understand Jonathan explaining why she's, needs to apply for a special permit, but when you see what's going on Van Duzenville Road and everybody's looking the other way, but a mother wants to protect her two children, and we're going around in a circle, forget it. And as a matter of fact, another neighbor spoke at the select board regarding it. He personally thought it was ridiculous for even a special permit. But again, Jonathan, thank you for explaining why. Again, I'm in strong support of this fence, and as a matter of fact, you're probably going to see other people coming before you regarding fences after what happened. And if anybody thinks I'm pulling your leg, call the Great Barrington Police Department, because they did send up a cruiser who couldn't believe they never caught the guy in the truck, but by fractions of an inch, the truck missed the telephone poles on the front of our house. We too have trees in the front of our house, and we're trying to fill them in. But that doesn't help us when we're pulling out of our driveway, and if you take your life into your own hands. It doesn't help when we're taking a walk on the street or a bike ride on the street. So again, I'm in strong support of this applicant's fence.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We have anybody online who wanted to make comment? Looks like there's one hand raised.
Hi, this is James Garzone, 84 North Lane Road. I just quick comment. I support the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online that wanted to comment? Anyone else in the room? Okay, no more comments. Then I will move on to reports from other boards or staff.
Oops, I just lost my file. The Conservation Commission reviewed it because there are wetlands in the area, but they determined it's not impacting this particular proposal. They're further away. Board of Health, no concerns. The select board made a positive recommendation.
Okay, great, thank you. And then next item is discussion of findings under section 10.4. So because this is a deviation from 4.9.2, it's subject to a special permit. And the criteria for special permit are, and maybe we can just go through each of them.
The middle one is the only one that is the community.
Yeah, I think we have to like at least say the other ones, but but yes. So the first one is social, economic, or community needs which are served by the proposal. They probably not applicable. Number two is traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading. So it is a solid fence, but it will be set back from the road, so it shouldn't create
Doesn't have an
a
impact.
limitation on traffic pulling out into the roadway, and it shouldn't obstruct the view through a curve or anything like that. So I would say no impact. Number three, adequacy of utilities and other public services, not applicable. Number four, neighborhood character and social structures.
Yes.
Jonathan's made his case for that. Does anyone else have any comments on character and structure?
I mean, this is unfortunate. This is the reality on Division Street, but it is a reality on Division Street.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I see where all the neighbors have got some sort of something in their front yards, be they short fences or shrubs or a few tall fences. Farm animals, yes, saw that.
I mean, I wish that we could fill it in with foliage. That would be a lot nicer for us, but it takes time. I mean, I can't blame her for wanting to protect her children.
I do think it's less of a neighborhood social structures issue, just given the more suburban feel. I'm not saying that I don't think it's good to build community, because I do believe in community, but I think given the geography, there's a unique aspect being on a very busy
It's not exactly
road.
a neighborhood. It's not exactly a walkable
It's actually,
place. You know what I mean? It is a neighborhood, but it's not exactly,
It's on a very busy road.
I mean, if the town wanted to do that, like, you know, I mean, I realize that we can leave it up to.
If we
Yeah,
had
residents.
if we had sidewalks.
But we had sidewalks and a
bumps.
lot, yeah, exactly.
Speed bumps.
Traffic lights, it might be.
Then you
set-
could, I think,
I mean, it might set the whole place up for a different feel, different, more of a walkable
See, I
neighborhood.
find it's
people
my
in the-
neighborhood. It's,
Michelle,
Just hang on.
you got it, it's
sorry.
either public, it's either structured.
I was talking to her, so
Yes.
that's probably why she responded.
It's like, let's just go through these, yes.
So,
I gotta be more strict apparently tonight.
Anyway, I think
Okay,
listen, I'm over there all the time too, so I go to Trip Taft Farms and I ride my bike past there, and it's everything that's been described so far. So I think the safety of our children is tantamount here. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate, but
and I think you know, I mean, the safety, but then also the feeling, right? Being
well,
safe.
it will undoubtedly change the feel of the place, and it will create a barrier there.
Well, but I was saying that if they feel some,
Oh,
Yeah.
well, sure. I'm sure everybody will feel safer there with the fence. There'll be less noise. Obviously, you won't see the cars.
yeah. Okay, so I mean, I think we are saying that it does have an impact. But there may be mitigating circumstances in terms of safety and busyness of the road.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
Impacts on natural environment, not applicable. And then potential fiscal impacts, including impacts on town services, tax base and employment, not applicable. Okay. All right. So then here's the situation. So, we either need to vote to continue this or we vote to close the public hearing. Well, so we have 4 voting board members on a 5-person board. And we would need to have 4 affirmative votes for this to pass tonight. And so if we think there's any reason that might not happen, then we should probably vote to continue to the next meeting.
Or the applicant can withdraw without prejudice and resubmit.
That
Either-
seems like very,
Either way. To say,
I would not be supportive of that personally. I think that that's not fair personally.
Will we have 5 votes at the next, 4 votes at the next?
I can't guarantee that, of course. I get the sense I don't have 4 votes right now, so that's why I'm saying this.
For getting the full attendance and vote of the board, I'll move to continue.
You'd move to continue.
I'll second that.
Okay, we need a date, time and place certain.
I would like to suggest we do this as soon as possible, so I would like to do it at our next meeting. We have lots of other business that night, but I think we should make this the first thing on the agenda, which would be the meeting of March 26th, which is in 2 weeks, and we haven't set a time for that meeting to start, right? Did we say 5?
We were hoping to have the open space items start at 5, but we can push those back slightly.
I would like to do that. I'd like to push those items back and take this matter up at 5 PM on March 26th
Here at 10.
here at Town Hall. Okay, so that would be the motion to continue this, continue the special permit public hearing to March 26th at 5 PM here at Town Hall.
So I'm gonna-
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, all right, so we'll have to take this matter up again at our next meeting. I personally don't think you need to reappear for that unless you feel strongly that you want to be here. You could, yeah, you can zoom in if you want, yeah, so, okay, thank you. Okay, all right, so, that matter is now moving on. Next item on our agenda is discussion of our next meeting. So that's, the open space and recreation plan at that next meeting. Mr. Rumble, did you have something you wanted to share?
No, just to let you all know that our next
No
meeting,
share.
the 26th, is going to be focused on the open space and rec plan, at least after this fence special permit item.
I think I hear my mother calling.
The focus of that, last time we talked about agriculture and open space. This meeting will focus on parks, playgrounds, more active recreation, climbers. So we've invited folks from Parks Commission, the climbing community, and other groups. So hopefully we'll have another productive meeting. I think the one focused on agriculture was really good. We have some very good input for the plan.
And we got,
Is this gonna be broken up into groups?
I don't know yet. Seth and I haven't figured that out. It
Okay.
was challenging to do with
Yeah.
in person and Zoom, so
It's hard for Kim.
it's difficult to get a sense of the meeting, and I think we all acknowledge that.
I did get lots of positive feedback, though, that its interactive nature was really, people felt they were heard.
I
Yeah.
agree. I liked that, and I think the report back was really useful.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's challenging, but I lean towards that format.
Okay.
So Chris, this last time for the agricultural meeting, we had everybody dealing with the same issues. And we could do that the same way, or we could break down by issues, depending on how many people showed up.
Pick an issue, pick a table,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it might allow for a deeper dive,
maybe.
so that might be a different way to look at it.
Thanks.
Great, thank you. All right, so nothing else there?
Yeah.
Okay, next item is discussion of the residential tax exemption. This was requested to be added to the agenda. And I cannot remember who requested it. Was it Jonathan or Pedro?
I did,
Pedro?
yeah.
Did you want to give your line of thinking and then we can have it, like, your objective is to consider providing comments to the select board?
Yes,
Okay,
so several other boards have had this discussion and have provided comments to the select board. There are 2 citizens petitions related to the item, so I thought it would be good if we discussed it and had our say to the select board as well. And I've invited Michael Weiss to come in and give an introduction and a description of the program.
do you want to do that, Michael?
Sure.
It's important that I can do that.
You just made his day.
I'll be real brief because this discussion has been going on a while.
Yeah.
I wanted to emphasize a couple of things and clear up a couple of, but I think there are misconceptions about how the thing works. The residential exemption, I think it's a good idea because it provides a tax break to nearly all resident homeowners in Great Barrington. How big a break depends upon how large an exemption is chosen. How many get the break depends upon how many claim and how many don't qualify. But every time I've run the numbers, about 90% of the resident homeowners will either see no change or will pay less. And I've run that on the current numbers. I've done the exercise that the town assessor suggested needs to be done. That is, I've looked at the town property records, compared the addresses of the owners with the addresses of the properties, made some judgments about likely coverage of trust and LLPs, and I come up with the same rough picture of what's going on. It benefits a lot of people because there are a lot of places in town that are well under the average value. The numbers are being misunderstood. The average value is not particularly relevant to much under this program. It sets the upper limit on how large the exemption can be. The exemption is best understood as a number. For example, we've been using, some of us, an estimate of $115,000. That corresponds to a 20% exemption, so-called, but the number is $115,000. If one set it at that level, every resident taking the exemption would deduct $115,000 from their value before the tax is figured. That's how it works. With that $115,000 exemption, the house that's worth $300,000 would pay a tax on the $185,000. The 3 million would pay a tax on is 2,885,000. The complication factor, the so-called break-even point, results from the fact that they have to re-estimate the tax rate in order to make this work. Because residential property is one basket. If a lot of exemptions are taken, that reduces the amount of property in that basket. And to get the same amount of money out of it, the rate has to be increased. The combined effect creates a so-called break-even point. Now, there's great misunderstanding about what happens at that break-even point. It's not a cliff. It's the point where the benefit, which has been gradually tapering off, reaches zero and then becomes a net payment. I have a little graph here that I've done, which I haven't shared much with people misunderstand it. But this is the effect of the exemption at different levels of exemption and different property values. For the cheap houses, the saving is pretty great. At the break-even point, well, it's zero. Around the break-even point, the effect is kind of flat. Farther along, the effect is greater.
Can you briefly, Michael, explain how the exemption is calculated?
The exemption it's a number. The limit on the number is 35% of the average residential property value parcel. In Barrington right now, the maximum exemption would be $199,000.
Right, that 20% is taken out of.
And that amount, that 20% is $115,000. 20% of the average value.
35. Right, because.
When you calculate your taxes, you take the assessed value, subtract the exempted amount, that's exempt from taxation, and you pay a tax on what's left.
But that comes, but the number that we subtract comes from the average value of
Right.
property.
That is where the average value is
That's
relevant.
what I want you to explain there.
Yeah, the average value is relevant because that sets the maximum exemption.
And that's calculated by taking the value of all residential properties in the town and dividing it by the number.
Exactly. The total, and the assessor's presentation the other day did exactly that and showed you where it comes from. The size of the exemption depends upon the choice of how big the exemption is. How many people pay it depends upon how many people take it. The more people take the exemption, the lower the break-even point is. When the assessor did her presentation in January, she was using numbers that although she didn't use the term, when you look under the hood, they implied a break-even of around $800,000. When I looked at the numbers myself and looked at the ownership patterns, I made an estimate of about $950,000. The last time the assessor made a presentation, she was suggesting it might be over $1 million. It's in that neighborhood. It won't be known exactly until people actually apply for it and get it, because some does depend upon legal detail, like the structure of trusts and the structure of LLCs. There may be some people who haven't bothered to claim residency here because it didn't matter, and they will suddenly discover that they actually live in the Berkshires. This is possible. So it's not possible to know precisely in advance what the effect's going to be, but one can make a good judgment, I think.
How does one take advantage of the exemption?
Make an application,
Mhm.
bringing in proof of your residence here. One of the things that will have to be done is that we'll have to probably hire somebody on contract to handle the paperwork for the transition period to set it up.
Do we think that entry point of having to come into town hall and make that entry is a barrier to particularly more low and moderate income households, just in terms of really just even having the bandwidth or the knowledge to take advantage of this? Like, I don't know to what
Well, make it simpler for them.
Mhm.
It'd be very much of a barrier, but it would be something you would have to do, yes.
What's the effect on the program if, let's say, 3/4 of the people who qualify apply for the program, but there's 25% that don't?
The numbers I'm using are roughly there. When you say, what is the effect?
So in
I
other
guess the break-even
is there an
point would
effect
end up
on-
being
is there an effect on the break-even point or the tax rate itself, or?
well, the tax rate would depend upon,
Wouldn't,
Haven't done the arithmetic on this.
the way I think about it is if less people are asking for an exemption, that means that there's more revenue raised, so the tax rate could potentially go down. If it's a revenue neutral program.
No, the revenue will never go down. The
No,
rate,
no, the rate.
the rate will never go down.
But if less
You're
people.
taking property out of the tax base.
The rate will be increased less, is what you're saying. You,
Correct, yes.
So if less people opt into the program,
Then we predict. Then the predicted,
increase.
so
the
the
tax.
break-even point will be higher.
Right.
And the rate, I think the rate will be the same.
so in other words, they would calculate the rate as if 100%. Attendance or
No.
100% participation in
You're
the.
asking a question which I haven't tried to answer.
So this is,
before.
I mean, it's a question I've had too, that I have, I'm not sure I've asked before.
Because before the taxes are collected, you know how many people have already applied, right? For this.
You can set it up that way, yes.
Oh, so you
Before the
don't
next
need
tax
to-
bill, make your application, then we'll see where we are.
Oh, so you-
I've always assumed that this would be done at the classification hearing in the fall. And so there would be an adjustment period because as people apply after the beginning of the tax year, the rate might have to be adjusted.
because the rate has to equal so that the revenue is the same.
Rate times the base has to equal the revenue. Yeah.
And so who benefits and who gets hit?
Who benefits? Derek, I find useful. The height of the bar is the number of houses in a particular value range. The peak is at about $375,000. There's a lot of places right in here who would benefit quite a bit. The break-even point is somewhere along here. The ones on this side won't benefit.
When you say here, because we've got people participating on Zoom and things like
Here.
that. If you, do you mind just like pretending you're on radio and talking through? Yeah.
Yeah, I would, the break-even point is somewhere between $850,000 and $950,000 most likely. The average value in town is about 575. The median is 500. But the typical home in town, there's a huge collection right around 375,000. About a third of the places in town are close to these bars right here, around 375.
So
These-
which is the range of most of the homes, like the low and the high?
Well, there are, believe it or not, a handful of 150 up to the average value of 600, between the principal beneficiaries. As you get closer to the break-even point, the size of the saving declines proportionally.
Is there a lower limit on who can apply for the exemption if your home value
There
is
a
not?
10% minimum payment.
Okay,
You can't cut more than 90% off the tax bill.
okay.
And then to go back to who benefits and who doesn't, of course, the second homeowner.
Who doesn't benefit, second homeowners, all of them pay more regardless of the value of the house. And residents whose places are valued over the break-even point will pay more.
And they would pay more because the tax rate would have
The rate is going up.
increase. Because the.
Bear in mind that the residents will take the exemption. The resident with the $2 million house will take the exemption, but even after taking the exemption, they will pay more because the rate's gone up.
Right. And the rate goes up because it's a revenue neutral program, meaning that the town can't borrow to make the program work.
I can anticipate what some of the other people are likely to say, if you'd like, or I can wait till they
This
say.
is not a public hearing, so I don't intend to turn this into a public hearing on the residential tax exemption. This was information, questions, and then do we feel like as the planning board, this is a place where we need to send comments as a group to the select board on this. So I think that,
Can I ask another question?
sure, yeah.
So, there are other tax exemption programs already out there. How would this affect this program?
Talking about veterans and senior citizens. Essentially, the cumulative, particularly the senior citizen program, one that is available that we don't use, explicitly piggybacks on this. Senior citizens um, who qualify for who meet the same criteria as the circuit breaker, could be eligible for an exemption just like this one if the town, adopted the program. The cap on that would be 20% of that.
And when you say cumulative, it means that if that were the case, then both
Yep.
exemptions would be in place, so they wouldn't, somebody wouldn't necessarily lose that benefit. If
Correct.
the residential exemption were adopted.
Correct.
Do you know of any other?
Veterans get a benefit. I don't know how many people we have in town who take that one. And I'm not certain about that one. I'm pretty sure that they both work.
Okay.
Disabled, I think there's a program for that also.
Well, Brandy, the reason that I thought it would be important and relevant for the board to comment is just because we, as much as the ZBA, and then maybe not as much as the housing trust, but we are talking and concerned about issues of affordability in town. And this is one that touches on that topic. Particularly if we consider the coming capital expenditures that are gonna come down the road that are gonna drive the tax rate up anyway. This might be a program that will help alleviate some members in town who are gonna be hit the hardest and punish others. It's kind of relative and it's controversial because not everybody who owns, not everybody owns $1 million home, but some people might own. I know a few people who have lived in their homes a long time that they purchased for 400 grand, and for some reason the values now are 1.2 million, and they'll be affected by it.
Jackie had a question.
Well, my question was about the fact that we say on the website that you'll have a chance, or that everybody or somebody's looking up the experience of the other towns and cities that have used this. And what is their experience over X number of years? And what have we learned from them about this program and how it's changed and should be used? I keep waiting to see it posted online.
My understanding of the history, and I looked into this 10 years ago and updated it some, is that this was the product of a major reform of the property tax system about 40 years ago. Several big jurisdictions leaped into it immediately. One reason for the reform was distortion of the assessment data in order to create favors. Part of the reform was everything is to be assessed at market value. You can't cheat on your assessments for some kind of properties, not others. This was put in I think 89, 79, anyway, Boston, Cambridge, the core of Boston area picked it up immediately. And also it's used quite a bit on the Cape, where it makes a lot of sense in a place like Provincetown. A few other towns have also used it over the years, but right now, most recently Concord has recently adopted it, and has kept on with it. It's, I think, somewhat controversial, but they've kept it up. Marlborough used to use it, no longer does. Somerset has always used it. I've mentioned those because they're not core Boston and they're not resorts. Somerset seems to use it solely for its progressive tendency because there's not many apartments there either.
We're just wondering if we can learn from what they don't like, do like, we can address ours.
I think Michelle has actually contacted some of the people and she may have a report herself.
What kind of, so what kind of tax rates, in the communities that have adopted this? I don't know. And then average, I guess it goes to that.
So I would just say, like, personally, I'm not inclined that the board may comment to the select board, only because when we've talked about housing issues before, we've been really distinct about the fact that we have sort of an area that we operate in and that the select board operates in a different area. And that's why we've had joint meetings in the past to like make sure that those synergies were happening. And we individually can't affect tax rate, right? So I I don't know that we offer any unique perspective or expertise outside of your comment about affordability. And I think the affordability question, based on information we've heard tonight, is a mix. You know, it's gonna be potentially less for some people, potentially more tax for other people. So
But I mean, this does have a large effect on. If it's not your primary residence, like all of those tax rates are gonna go up by doing this.
Sure.
And so
are they
does that have
all over the?
No, because there is no break even because
They don't call it a second.
the tax rate,
Oh,
this makes
sure.
the tax rate go up, so
Yeah.
they don't qualify for anything, so all of their taxes are gonna go up automatically. And so does that begin to have an effect on, on second home ownership in
Yes.
Great Barrington? And then, and so then what does that look like? So I mean, I think it's a big thing.
Well, if you look
And
if you look at towns on the Cape, it hasn't had an effect on second.
but I'm wondering if the
Their
tax rate,
stratification is
I'm wondering if the
huge.
tax rate is less. And so, if the tax rate is less, I mean, our tax rate is quite high, and if it were to go up, a percentage, like a percentage point, that has a big effect on some of these, and I wonder if. I mean, I get the affordability thing. But I'm
not interested in us necessarily making an opinion about whether it's positive or negative. I would say if we were going to make some comments, we should make comments sort of in our area of expertise in terms of planning and land development here in the town and whether or not it will have effects there and what those consequences or unintended or intended may be, right?
Well, I mean, if we're.
Individually, we are, of course, welcome to make whatever comment we want, right? I don't know. I personally, speaking as an individual, I feel like there's a tremendous number of unknowns, and Michael's only like amplified that for me. And I don't know that it will be
Michael has that way about it.
net benefit myself, so.
So, I guess it was the assessor reported that we have 12.7% of our real estate, our residential real estate is owned by second homeowners.
She didn't purport to have done a candidate survey to confirm that.
Well, the number I heard was 12.7. I don't know where it
Okay,
came from.
yeah.
It's a number that's out there. And where this was popular on the Cape and out there, it's always at least 50%. And so it's a huge difference in the makeup of the communities. And I always come back to this. Great Barrington is the commercial hub. We serve all of these surrounding towns, and all of their tax rates are significantly lower, half to a third of ours. And it's going to decrease the value of big homes in Great Barrington and increase it elsewhere. So, and that's something that, I don't know how you compute that.
Mhm.
And
What's
but
the
it's something,
elasticity?
it's something that should be considered.
Yep.
It's gonna make Great Barrington less desirable.
I just think that that's an anecdotal comment. There's no evidence that it will. In Waltham, for example, over the last 10 years, their population has increased by 10%. And they've added and they have got second homeowners in Waltham. It's the only town that I've looked at that's, only because it's a sizable town. There's really no substantial.
We're not talking about
evidence
population, we're
unless
talking
you
about
can-
second homeowners.
Unless you can provide some data that it will do that, I consider that an anecdotal comment. I think people, for example, a few of the people that I know who live around me, for example, who are second homeowners. I mean, my neighborhood is practically dark. They're from outside Philadelphia. They're from Miami, Florida.
What's your
One is
point?
from North Carolina. The point is that they pay a significantly higher tax rate there than they do here. So if our tax rate goes up by 1.5%, I don't know that somebody looking from another jurisdiction who's paying, you know, an outrageous amount of money. I mean, my clients, for example, who come from Westchester County, they pay, you know, 5, 6 times what we are paid here. So they'll come into Great Barrington, they'll look at a 13.25 tax rate and they'll be like, that seems okay. Because they're used to paying that. So again, what I'm saying, completely anecdotal, not unlike what you're saying, right? It's, so that, you know, unless there's some data on that, I don't know that that's a fair comment.
Well, Waltham's
It's a logical comment.
32.
I don't know that Waltham is a good analogous community only because it's within the Boston, you know, population shed, and that, you know, population center has had like wild growth.
I mean, the only reason I bring it up is because it hasn't made, adopting the exemption there, just like on the Cape. And again, I understand the Cape is different, but adopting the exemptions in these locations has not made the areas less attractive.
I feel like personally that it could stifle growth, and I think we need to encourage
Based on what?
growth.
And what growth are we seeing now with the current tax rate, to be honest? I mean, it's incremental and very slow.
But why make it worse?
It might not.
Especially when the houses that can be built are the ones on the higher end. I just,
Again, if I can see some numbers on why adopting this program would stifle growth in the single family home sector, one that's completely out of reach to most of us already. I'd be more comfortable having that conversation.
How many new houses have been built below that number?
How many new houses can be built even close to that number? That's the point.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the point.
I don't get the sense that we have like consensus enough to like write a letter as a group.
I mean,
I would encourage everyone to participate individually. I think there are a lot of important points here, and there's probably a lot of really good questions that still need to be asked. And my intention was not to turn this into a public hearing. I know Chip and James have their hands raised, but we've received Chip's letter. So that is, that was sent out in, the email information that Chris has shared with us. We have his perspective. Yes,
Are we gonna send something to the select board that we have a lot of questions about this?
I think I would invite you to do that as an
But
individual.
we don't wanna send something as board, because it seems like we
I
do.
don't.
We now have 3 hands up.
Yet, this isn't a public hearing. This was a discussion for this board to decide whether or not we were going to be taking any action. If folks want to use the citizen speak time, that's fine, but I don't intend to, I don't want to turn this into a debate with Michael, and it was more just information, and does this relate to the planning board?
I feel like it does, though. Anyway.
I would think that the unanswered questions or the questions that raise is obviously how high will the tax rate go? How will we know where the break-even point is? Other than that, I mean, what other questions do you have about it?
We won't know any of those things until we have it and we see how many people take advantage of it, right? Like, that's the thing of it.
You won't know precisely.
Yeah.
You make a good estimate.
Yeah, I have a number of concerns. I don't know what the adoption will be in terms of people who, we've heard this before from the public, like someone who is, you know, they and their partner are working 2 jobs to make ends meet here in town, and they own a modest house in the community, and they're trying to get their kids back and forth to school activities. Like, is it going to be on their radar to go down to the assessor's office and seek an exemption? I don't know. I don't know that they are. And I feel like this is something that sounds nice on paper, but maybe is difficult to implement for the people that may need it most, right?
So that's.
That's one end, but the other end are people that are sitting on a house that has appreciated, you know, very tremendously, but are maybe on fixed incomes, because we have a lot of seniors that are sitting in houses that they've been in for 30 or 40 years.
It's gonna be over $900,000.
That are going to be over $900,000, and they don't have their, right. And so I think there's people at both ends that may be inadvertently, I don't think there's any maliciousness in this proposal. I just think that there are people at both ends that may struggle. to see the benefit. Or that may be impacted negatively, which I don't think helps the affordability issue.
So why aren't we sending like the comments, like these comments to the select board?
We can do that as individuals. I'm not hearing like, I don't hear like consensus, like,
We can send a mishmash of
please,
comments to the
please
select
do
board
so.
as a board.
I feel like Chris normally he puts our letters together and, I don't.
Just offer that there's really no way this discussion is gonna lead to one letter written by committee in the space of tonight's meeting. So I think it's good to have a public discussion, but I'm not sure there's any consensus that the most talented writer could boil down and reduce to writing.
You are the most talented writer though.
Thank you.
But Brandy, you don't wanna hear, I mean, what the public has to.
I think there have been plenty of hearings. The planning board is making no decision here. We are taking information only.
All right, Michael, thank you. Thank you. Sorry if I stepped over you.
No, not at all. All right, do we have a town planners report?
No, just that open space thing that I mentioned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Board and subcommittee updates, issues and concerns. Jackie.
I'm sorry, who's talking? What?
Board and subcommittee items, issues
Oh,
and
for
concerns?
that?
Yeah, anything
Very busy meeting on Wednesday.
this coming Wednesday? Okay.
Before that.
Okay, sounds good. Next meeting.
Teaser so that you get more attendance.
Jeremy.
It's very exciting.
It's very exciting. No, I have not. No.
The lack of seriousness. Nothing for Pedro, nothing for Jonathan, nothing for me. Okay, citizens speak. If anybody who wanted to speak previously wants to speak now, please.
Tell me who?
Vivian, I think, had her hand up first. So. Hi, Vivian. You can unmute yourself. You should just be able to go ahead.
Thank you. I just unmuted. Oh, what to say? I want to present a few facts that folks weren't sure about in your discussion. First of all, in the assessor's report, it says that there are 3,394 residential parcels in Great Barrington. And elsewhere, the assessor revealed that there are 391 second homeowners who already pay an additional tax for the property value inside their homes. And according to my calculator, unless I pressed the wrong numbers, that's 11.5% of our homeowners are second homeowners. And this is in contrast to not only the Cape, but the Boston area, where the second homeowners are not necessarily people coming for vacation, but owners of apartment complexes and condominium complexes who are not local residents, and they own these as commercial properties, and they're very common in the greater Boston area. So there is really no equivalent to 11.5%, or somebody else presented 12.7% as what they heard for a second homeowner percentage of all our properties. This is a totally different picture. Also, I sympathize, believe me, as somebody whose income is not a high income person, I sympathize with the people who are on very tight incomes now, especially the 38% of our residents who are senior citizens and on retirement income, mainly Social Security and some pensions, or some pensions. So that's another piece of data to share. Another thing is not data, but it's my own experience and talking to a few other people that I've served on the subcommittee for the planning board and the select board on housing that Lee Davis was running for a while. And I've attended other meetings with the head of Construct, talking about what we can do for people struggling with housing costs in Great Barrington. I've been involved in this issue for a long time. And I thought that maybe I could increase my limited senior income by having an ADU developed in my house. There's some space that could be, developed as in that way as a second facility. And ADUs are supposedly something we're trying to promote. Certainly, Affordable Housing Trust Board is trying to promote that. But if I do anything to my home that increases the value, it could push me higher up in the punishment area of the residential tax exemption. So that's an ironic, I don't know how many people feel that way or they even know it. But that is an ironic aspect of this that needs to be taken into account. I got information online today that is rather late, so I emailed you all late. Please consider my email and thank you for not jumping to any conclusions now. This is an area that needs more studying. I recognize that it's very well intentioned by the advocates, but it's also being misrepresented. There's a new website out there that says it's independent and it's promoting incorrect information, implying that assessed valuation reflects income of owners. They falsely state, quote, the RTE shifts taxes from lower income year-round homes. No, that's not necessarily the case, that somebody who has a year-round home that's less than the break-even point is low income. And it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody whose assessed value has grown just because they've been here for 35 or 40 years. It doesn't mean that they're higher income. So that is incorrect information, and it's playing to all of our concern to help people with lower income. And I'd like to volunteer, and I hope that others do too, that we look at broader measures of helping people and look at that in a way that other towns are doing that. Even Chatham, which is dealing with residential exemption in favor, but now their finance committee is saying, wait, there could be legal cases on this from people who feel that they were wrongly evaluated. We've got to look into all aspects of this, how it affects us financially, legally, as well as our concern for helping those most in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. All right, Chris, do you mind promoting James?
James, 84 North Plain Road.
Hi,
I hear
James.
all the time that houses are dark left and to the right of me, but the facts remain. There's only 12% of second homeowners, which I'm one. And as Mr. Wise said, 90% of the people could benefit of this. So the tax shift of 90% of the people go to the 10% of second homeowners, number one. Number two, the only reason we're discussing the RT is because of the fiscal mismanagement of the town for over a decade. Now we have a new school coming. We have higher school costs. We have Housatonic Water Works, which is going to be purchased at some point, and then the upgrades, on and on and on. So we are trying to figure out how to alleviate the tax pain for many who are fixed income, barely scraping by. And now we're going to shift it to the 10% of the people. But as we've demonstrated, a lot of these older people or fixed income live in homes that will exceed the threshold. So they're going to be forced into paying more. I don't understand. Okay, I understand why we're trying to do the RTE. And as Vivian said, it's well intentioned, but Great Barrington is not the town for this. And I'll keep my comments for another day. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do you mind promoting Chip? Chip, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can.
I can go on and on. Okay.
Oh. Go ahead, Chip, please.
Okay, so I thought James was going to talk a little bit more, but if I'm free to talk, I can do
You
that.
are up next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'd like to provide some additional information, and I appreciate the fact you don't want this to be a debate or a public hearing. Two of the pieces of information I'm going to give actually came from a discussion I had with Michael, or an email exchange I had with Michael Wise. One is we're focusing on second homeowners, but Michael's feeling, and I would agree, although I can't point to hard numbers, but was that approximately half of the people that would be affected adversely by an RTE would not be second homeowners. That there's roughly a balance between, obviously all second homeowners would be affected, but also in terms of the total that would be affected, about 50% would be, in round numbers, would be people like Vivian, or other people who are full-time residents, but would be adversely impacted by the exemption. Um, the other thing is, I think it was Pedro asked the question about what the tax rates are at the Cape and on the islands and on the other towns that have the residential exemption already. Um, and I can tell you that of the 11 or 12 towns that are in the islands and the coast that have the residential exemption, all of them have tax rates under $8 per thousand of assessed valuation. Great Barrington's, of course, is $13.24. And the other data point that Michael gave me in this exchange that I had with him a few weeks ago, I said, well, what if we had the maximum exemption, and if you got the seasonal designation, which I understand is being promoted, that would allow the residential exemption to go up to 50% instead of 35%. So I asked Michael what the tax rate would have to be in Great Barrington if it were a 50% residential exemption. And he said, well, he did the calculation last year using 2024 data. And on that basis, the tax rate would have to be $21.47. To put that in perspective, that is the highest of all the 351 municipalities in the state from Boston on down. $21.47 would be the highest in the Commonwealth. Even if you take the 35% exemption and the $17.17 rate that our town assessor told the Finance Committee last month would be the case, even that number, 1770, there are only 7 towns in the entire state that are above that number. So if you don't think that having the highest or one of the very highest tax rates in the state wouldn't affect our ability to grow our tax base, which benefits everybody in terms of lower taxes, in recent years, our tax rate has actually gone down largely due to that growth in the taxable base. This would reverse that. So, as I said in another context or another meeting with Michael, I would enjoy playing chess with him, because if you can't see more than one move ahead, yes, in the first move, 90%, I'll take his numbers at face value, would go down. But the next step in that, the next move would be a crashing of values on higher end properties, on second home properties. A great flashing sign saying keep out of Great Barrington to anybody thinking of constructing new taxable property here. And so I think the good intentions here, and the email that was circulated to you this morning that I'd asked Chris to circulate, and he did. If you click on the second link, which is an article I'd written to the Berkshire Edge a few years ago when this came up before, it's good intentions. It's bad public policy. And if you read that, you'll see more of what I'm talking about here. With that, I will shut up. But thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other public comment online? In the room? All right, if there's no more comment, we will adjourn at 7:19. Thank you, everyone.